Joining me now is Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat from Connecticut. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
Part of the administration's argument here, and from its supporters, is not just that there's waste in USAID, but that it's just not America's job. Foreign aid is a waste of taxpayers' money, and we shouldn't be in these places, even if there is need for food, medicine, etc. Make the case for why it is America's job, in your view.
Well, Jim, as you know, it's not just a matter of soft power. It's a matter of influence and impact around the world. And the gap, the void that we leave will be filled by China, even Russia. And our soft power sometimes is the kind of power that keeps us out of war and stops terrorism. But if you take that $40 billion budget and ask, where does the money go? A lot of it is spent right here in the United States. The $2 billion in food aid, for example, that's not money that we give to people on the ground. It's used to buy soybeans and wheat and corn from farmers here in the United States of America. And some of that food is actually just sitting in ports, wasting, spoiling, because it can't be shipped. If you talk about the pharmaceutical drugs, they are purchased right here in the United States. So the $40 billion generates business and jobs here. And there's one other point in terms of saving money. If you prevent disease from spreading to the United States from some foreign country, you save a lot of money, not to mention the intel that we know comes from them.
Hey, the case you just made there sounds a lot like a certain former senator you might recognize. Have a listen.
We don't have to give foreign aid. We do so because it furthers our national interest. That's why we give foreign aid. Now, obviously, there's a component to foreign aid that's humanitarian in scope, and that's important too. I promise you it's going to be a lot harder to recruit someone to anti-Americanism, anti-American terrorism, if the United States of America was the reason why they're even alive today. Anybody who tells you that we can slash foreign aid and that will bring us to balance is lying to you. Foreign aid is less than 1% of our budget. It's just not true.
I wonder about this about face from Marco Rubio. USAID is going to end up under the State Department here. You've worked with him in the Senate. Could he quietly rescue some of USAID's mission?
I'm hoping that he will stay true to the beliefs and values that he articulated so well in those clips that you used. Marco Rubio was one of the most powerful advocates of this kind of program because it's in our self-interest. Put aside feelings of humanitarian care. This aid is a force multiplier for the United States of America. It isn't military aid, and it isn't buying influence, but it has enormous impact in the way the world perceives us and the way they are willing to work with us in combating terrorism or our adversaries. So I am hoping maybe Marco Rubio will somersault back on his feet, because if he is true to himself, he will, quietly or otherwise, support and defend USAID.
We do have some news just into CNN, and that is that Donald Trump has posted on Truth Social that he's going to rescind Joe Biden, the former president's security clearance, that he says he no longer needs to access classified information. We've seen this president revoke security clearances for former government officials, including from his own administration, who it seems he was insulted by their criticism. Unprecedented to remove it from a former president. What's your reaction?
I think this kind of retribution is unworthy of a president. And I'm saddened and angered that he is using security clearances as a means of revenge against political enemies or adversaries or generals like Mark Milley. Yep. But it fits the pattern that you've just articulated in the earlier story about referring a list of people who may be prosecuted as a result of Elon Musk recommending them. Elon Musk is responsible for the biggest public corruption scandal ongoing in real time, right before our eyes, stealing information, controlling agencies that provide contracts to his companies, SpaceX and Starlink and Tesla, billions of dollars, and regulate those companies. So if we're worried about corruption, we should be investigating what Elon Musk is doing with Doge, and that's exactly what I am doing through the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation. We've begun that investigation with letters to all those companies asking what they're doing with the information, who controls it, who's involved.
Yep.
But this kind of retribution really should have no place in the United States government.
Senator Richard Blumenthal, thanks so much for joining tonight.